we've got a range of speakers to share what they've been doing, but the focus I want for us is to think about our practice. What was it about our practice that was the catalyst, that nurtured, that connected, that helped influence, that provided something? In these live case studies you can hear, what was the practice of the HPS facilitator? What was the deliberate action? What happened?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really privileged to be here, and this is I'm the teaching principal at a very small school called Patatahi. It's a full, and this is my colleague Maude, who I've had the pleasure of working with for last year as a relieving principal, and from term 2 I will be the permanent principal, so we are going to be a formidable team. Okay.
Yeah, it's about 17 k's from Gisborne City, and we're just well known there for horticulture, and so most of our parents are field workers or beneficiaries. And we have our school, the majority is Maude1. In our school we only have 14 students, but hopefully we will have 20 when we go back to term 2.
Yes. We attended a health promoting schools workshop, and the catalyst for attending that was for improving community engagement. And we had set some goals for community engagement, and when we attended that first hui, we went back to school and reset those goals. And probably one key thing from that workshop for me, for Maude and I, was we'd been looking at events to attract parents into the school, and I recall Lorraine saying that the most powerful intervention that you could do is to ensure that there are lots of opportunities to engage with parents who have and talk about their child's learning, not just the sports events, not just the food social events, not just the prize giving, but those individual conversations were just so important. So as a result of that, we went back to school and we looked at, again, opportunities, how we could engage our parents with their students' learning. So we were doing, we were trying to come up with ideas for the whānau to come into the school, find out what their children had been learning. And we introduced some celebrations of learning at the end of each term. And quite often, Maude, that what would happen was we would have the celebration of learning and the children were well prepared and they were well rehearsed. And on this particular occasion, the parents didn't come.
Well, the parents didn't come because they were at work, because they work in the fields and they need their jobs. Okay, that's a priority for them, especially out there. And, well, anyway, so we had the celebration of learning, and nobody came. None of the parents came. So anyway, we had finished. And then Lynn said, this was it. That's it, it's over.
Yeah, finished.
Yeah, she said finished. And then a parent came in. And then she looked at me and I said, well, you have to rewind. And she said, looked at me like, rewind? I said, no, we've got to do it again because we've got a parent here. So that was okay. So when we went through the performance again, he just finished, and another parent came. And I said, no, we've got to rewind again. Because I think these are really good parents that really try to make to everything, to do with their children's learning. Yeah, so that was all right. Finished again. She was looking at the time. And I said, no, and then another parent came. I said, no, we've got to rewind again. So we actually rewound 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it ended up being awesome.
Alright, so as a result of that one little rewind comment from Maude, we sat down and we said, right, these celebrations of learning, we've been doing them once a term, and they're usually about an hour long, 45 minutes to an hour. How about we look, and we only do it once. So my thoughts as the principal, were just, well, it starts at 2 o'clock, and if you're on the bus, good, you get there, and if you don't, well, you've missed the bus, and that's it. But as a result, we thought about shortening, doing more frequent learning presentations, because they're all about their learning. This particular one was a little follow-up to the rugby, World Cup rugby, and the children did quite a few items about that. Thought about making them shorter and having different session times so that you could come in at 11 o'clock. Maude doesn't know this, but the big royal buzz is happening next term. You know about the bees, but the big royal buzz, and parents can opt in to come on a Wednesday at 11 o'clock, Thursday at 2 o'clock, and maybe Friday at 2 o'clock again. So they have got a number of opportunities to opt in. Now, as a result of Maude's brainwave, the rewind, we had an open day, but that came from a parent. We'd sent out a survey, and what can we do? Have you got some ideas? And they'd suggested an open day. Now, I don't know how many of you have been to open days before at schools, but the type of open day I'd normally had was the parents just come in and they just have a look round, and I didn't really know what they were. They would just look. So for this particular open day, we did an event schedule.
Okay. So there was going to be a party at 9 o'clock. 9:15 was all about maths, going to room 1 and 3. 10 o'clock was high jump demonstration, hula hoop fitness. 10:30 was in for tea and cake. 11 o'clock encore performance, room 1 All Blacks, Little Ruggers. 11:30 was wearable arts, the finishing touches from room 3. 11:45 was reading by myself, reading with someone from room 1. Then free sausage sizzle, kite flying, and students recreational swimming.
Okay, thank you. So what happened was we had parents at different parts of the school. It was only 14 children, but some opted to just go and watch the hula hoop, some opted to watch the high jump, some opted to go and help. That was really lovely, wasn't it? Because it was a perfect day for kite flying. So they stayed at lunchtime and helped their children fly their kites. So we know we have to be really, really flexible with the times. And we're in a precarious position with our role, but we're also in a rather fortunate position that we can try these different things to see how they work. And if we got bigger, how would we change it? Could we do it differently? Or would we continue to operate giving that greater flexibility of choice for parents as to when they can attend? Following our open day, we had another group that couldn't come to the open day on Friday. On the Monday we had it, didn't we? We did decide we wouldn't have it on Monday again because I think the children looked a bit sleepy, didn't they? So we thought, well, we might go for Tuesday. But we had a play group and we're really trying to engage with all of the community. And the play group said, we'd love to come to the open day, but we can't come on a Monday, but we could come on a Friday. So I said, okay, we can do the open day again, but it was just a slightly from 10 o'clock. So again, we gave that group another opportunity to come in and see similar things, but just a slightly shorter time frame. And what was really lovely was they stayed for a sausage sizzle, and there was a number of preschoolers all running around the playground. I did wonder how I would cope, and I managed really, really well. And then we also had a visit from the local minister. There is a small church in the Anglican church is in our area, and we'd been invited to the Anzac Day service to commemorate an ex-principal who died at Gallipoli. So that was my first interaction with the minister last year. Towards the end of the year, she came and asked if we'd be interested in the children attending an after-school session to hear a Christmas story. And we were quite agreeable with that. It was after school. And what happened with that, the minister came, brought some ladies from the church, and the children, and all the children in the village were invited, whether they attended our school or not. And we had a couple of extra children turned up. And the minister told the Christmas story. The children did a rotation of activities, making Christmas cake, things. They had things to take home. And also the children, the parents came to pick their children up at 5 o'clock, and they were really impressed and said, is this what we've been missing out on, Lynn? So it was just another opportunity to engage with a different group in the village, to engage at a different time, and that was very successful. Following that, I asked the minister, well, could you come in again after school and do the Easter story?
Oh, yeah. Well, we had a lot of other children that don't attend our school, which was great. They had activities and making things. They really enjoyed it, and then heaps of food to eat. Didn't have to supply that, they bought that. And all the kids enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's another way of getting the community into our school.
Yeah. So I suppose the community are now becoming more engaged in with our school. The wider community are becoming more engaged, and I'm really hoping that we can, I know some aspects of my practice have changed, and I've got a phrase here, the bus leaves at 10 o'clock whether anyone's on it or not, before Maude said rewind. And in some communities, and ours is going to be one of them, the bus may have to travel a different route at different times, thus enabling everyone to get on. Because following our celebration of learning, following our open day, every single parent in the school, I believe, had been to one or other of the presentations. So at a different time, so that was really successful.
Well, okay.
But you need to know your parent community, that they do want to be part of their child's learning, and as a school, as a staff, we have to now consider flexible times so that we can arrange for that to happen. Okay, kia ora.
There was a question raised earlier during the reference group meeting about having to have good knowledge of how to interact with whānau, because there's a perception, it's our skill set that we need that skill set. And I think in that example, we saw that it was the school leaders interacting with the whānau. It wasn't Raipoia. This is the shift that the ministry had been wanting to see. It is the school leaders to do that work. It's not you.
Yeah.
Your work is to work with the school leaders.
Yeah.
So if we haven't gotten it to this point, that example from Gisborne illustrates it for us.
Yeah.
So the power of that is immense.